Welcome to The Pulse, where we delve deep into the issues and ideas that are shaping the future of education. I'm your host, Rick Surrency, Superintendent of the Putnam County School District, and each week we'll be talking to teachers, administrators, and other experts in the field about the latest trends, best practices, and most pressing concerns in education. Whether you're a teacher, a parent, or just someone who cares about education, this podcast is for you. So sit back, relax, and let's dive into the pulse. Well, welcome to our podcast. This is Superintendent Rick Surrency from the Putnam County School District. And I'm very honored to have with us today Emme Delaney, who is a senior at Crescent City Jr. Senior High School. And welcome, Emme. It's good to have you. And I'll just tell you, the main reason I asked her to be here today, before I asked her to start talking, is she was voted the top scholar for the entire school district several weeks ago as part of all of our top scholars in the district, over 100 students. But she was voted the top scholar, and I know her parents and her family are very proud of her, as well as her principal and her school. So I'm very honored to have her here today. And Emme, welcome, and tell us a little bit about your background. And I know you grew up here in Putnam County, but just talk to us and help the audience know who Emme Delaney is.
Well, I grew up in Crescent City. Both of my parents are educators, so I'm really familiar with the education system. And I've learned the value of education from a very young age. You
probably learn a lot more about education than you really want to know, because when you go home, you hear about it too, right?
I do. I definitely do.
Yeah. And I know both your parents, and I know they're extremely great educators, and I know they're very proud of you. So I'm very happy that you're here. And first of all, tell me about Emme Delaney and why you think you were selected, first of all, as a top scholar, but the top scholar in the county. And I know it's hard to brag about yourself, but what are some things that you have done that maybe has stood above many other students?
Well, I think I was involved in pretty much all aspects of school. I was involved in sports, in community service. I was involved in my church, and I also, of course, kept my grades up.
Very good. And by the way, she serves on the Superintendents Advisory Council, and you have, I think, for the last 2 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
And she has provided a lot of input for me. Whether I wanted to hear it or not, she's been able to be very honest with me, and I really respect that. So I know you're graduating this year, right? And I believe, did you go through the Cambridge program?
I did.
Right. So Cambridge or AICE Diploma?
Yes.
And all that? And congratulations on that. So let me ask you, what does the future look like? What do you think? What's going to happen next year?
Well, I plan to attend Florida State University, and I want to major in civil and environmental engineering.
Wow. I thought you were going to be a teacher or something. That's okay. But what got you into the engineering field? What interests you about that?
So first, I was in 9th grade, and I was taking a class. It's part of the Cambridge curriculum called Environmental Management, and it basically showed how different ways that people can mitigate the environment using their new technology and inventions. So I thought that was a great thing that I wanted to pursue in the future.
Very good. And is that a 4-year program, or is it?
It takes 4 to 5 years.
4 to 5 years. So what do you see yourself long range with that degree or degrees? What do you see yourself doing in the future?
Well, I want to work for about 4 to 5 years to get my professional engineering license, and from there, hopefully, I plan to start an engineering firm of my own and be a business owner in Putnam County.
Very good. You know, we're actually doing a lot of building of schools here currently, and I've gotten to meet some engineers who are actually designing, help lay out the plans and look at the environment, look at our water systems, and there's much more to that than I've ever dreamed of. So I could see what you're going into is something that's really, something that's going to be vital for not only new construction, but just our environment. Mm-hmm. Florida has a very vulnerable environment with our water and our ecosystems and all, so I really salute you for doing that. Tell me some of the people at Crescent City Jr. Senior High School, and maybe even going back to your middle school days and your elementary days. who are some of the people, whether they're teachers or people that work in the school, who are some people that really stand out as like, you know what, I wouldn't be here now if it wasn't for so-and-so? Who are some of those people that come to mind?
Okay, well, so for middle school, I'd really like to thank Mr. Frazee because he definitely showed me that you can have a passion for math, and I think that really helped me into like figuring out what I wanted to do with engineering. I'd also, of course, like to thank my parents for always supporting me at the school, and my Uncle Sean Delaney because he really pushed me to be involved more with my community and with sports, and so that was really great. And I also like to thank Mr. Adams because I think that he really saw the potential in me, and I would say that he gave me some opportunities that I wouldn't have had before. And yeah, it's just a lot.
Well, and I know Mr. Adams originally was going to be here today, your principal, and I know some things came up, but I know he's extremely proud of you and, has said a lot of great things about you and was very honored to be at the ceremony where you were honored. And, talking about your Uncle Sean, and for those who are not aware, Sean was a longtime teacher at Crescent City Jr. Senior High and also the head coach there and, tragically passed away about a year ago, right? So, and his legacy and his impression on that school will be forever remembered. So thank you for highlighting him. Tell me some of the, you have a lot of community hours, I know, and what were some of the things you did to earn your those community hours? I know you've been very involved in the community. What were some examples of that?
I taught at my local church. I taught Sunday school once a month for the past 5 years, so that's been a really good experience to have. I also taught summer camp for 4 years, so that was really nice to have that interaction with the young kids and be able to teach them. And another thing that I've done is a lot of STEM advocacy because I'm really passionate about STEM, and I would like for other people to have the same passion or at least awaken their interest. So I've done a lot of that, and especially at the local elementary schools. And, other than that, it's just been community service clubs like Interact Club or National Honor Society, just getting my hours in there and volunteering for any event that I see, fit to volunteering.
So when you go off to Florida State, I know that involvement probably will carry on into college. Have you thought about some things you might get involved in? I know Florida State has a lot of things you can do outside of the classroom.
So yes, I got accepted into the Florida State Honors Program, so I'm definitely going to stay involved with that. And then I got accepted into a Women in STEM program, so it'll be really good to meet other women who are also passionate about STEM.
That's great, and we that reminded me we actually have the Girls Can event. I don't know if you've ever been to that before, but because I think we just restarted that, but it reminded me of what you were talking about is we've had some engineers who are ladies who have come and kind of shared their passion and their experiences with some of our students and have kind of say, you know what, these are careers that are open for you as well as men. And I know one that really stands out. We've had a lady who grew up in Putnam County who has gone on to be one of the top engineers at NASA.
Wow.
And to be able to say they grew up in Putnam County and now they're part of the space program is pretty cool. So I don't expect anything less from you. I think that's actually, I can't wait to see the next 4 or 5 years and what happens for you. What would be some advice you might give for maybe someone starting junior, senior high school, or maybe even starting ninth grade, when they really start to figure out what they want to do? Looking back at your experience, what is some advice you might give to, whether it's a young lady or a young man, what's some advice you might give them just about being a good student, about, being successful and all that? Looking back now, what are some things you might advise them?
Yeah. Well, I would advise them to just try to get involved in as many things as they can, just so they can see what they want to do. I think that getting involved in all the clubs definitely opened some opportunities for me that I wouldn't have had otherwise. I think that for schoolwork, just being able to manage your time well, not procrastinate, learning that has definitely been my biggest struggle. Give your best effort in everything that you do.
Well, and I've said this many times, and you hit the nail on the head. The students that get things done are the ones that are involved in a lot of things, and it's almost it's almost like you get too busy sometimes, but it helps you to learn to manage your time, doesn't it?
Yes.
And I think the other thing is, because I was real involved in high school back in the Stone Age when I was in high school, but what it really taught me was it helped me to develop relationships and friendships with people outside the classroom, and really helps to develop that networking.
Yeah.
And I think as you move on to Florida State and you get involved in all those different clubs and organizations, you're going to develop that network that will serve you from years to come. Might even open up a job somewhere. So I think you're very far above your age as far as understanding that, and I really salute you for doing that. So, Emme, I know you've talked about your mom and dad and the influence they've had, and I know your aunt and uncle also worked at in the school district too. And you can't help but have so much influence from not only educators but your family who are also educators. You can't help but have that influence. So, I know I've heard you talk about your grandparents. So, talk to me about the impact your grandparents have had on you as you've grown up.
Well, I'm really grateful for the impact that they've had on me growing up. So while my parents were at school most days, they took care of me and my cousins, and most importantly, they read to us when we were really young. So I think that just gave us such a head start on our education, and also taught us the value of education from a really young age.
So before you started school, you stayed with your grandparents and they were actually reading to you at that time?
Yes.
And that I tell you what, I can underline that as good as you can, because we want young children to be read to. And then it kind of helps them understand language and reading and that type of thing. Gets them ready for those early elementary years. So thank you for saying that. I think that's powerful that people need to hear that, especially young parents out there. The other thing I want to mention too, that I've actually heard that you've really taken the opportunity to involve yourself in some job shadowing and internships. So can you talk to us how that's impacted you and who you job shadowed with?
Well, I think that my advice for any student out there that might be interested in a field is to go ahead and try to find some sort of job shadowing, and reach out to as many companies as you think that you can. I was able to job shadow with 2 engineering firms in the Daytona area, and that really helped me to solidify that I actually wanted to go into engineering, because it's such a behind-the-scenes type of career that most people don't know what they do, except for if you have connections there already. So.
And again, it goes back to the whole networking thing that you learn when you're involved in community service, you're involved in clubs and organizations, and that's just an outset of that, an offshoot of that. So. And I think you mentioned not only in Daytona, but also in Hawthorne.
Yeah.
You've been involved in, what's the name of the firm there?
It's Florida Septic Inc. They let me do a plant tour and see what engineers would do in that specific field. So it was very, very informative and enlightening to be able to have that experience.
Very good. The good thing I see about that is you can actually, if you're thinking about going into whether it's teaching, engineering, construction, whatever there might be, if you can at least go in and see what people in the field are doing, it might help you to solidify that. You might get in there and say, this is not what I really thought it was. I need to look somewhere else. And I think if you wait till you're in college or graduate from college before you do that, you're almost doing yourself a disservice. So I really commend you for doing that in high school, because it really kind of sets your path. So that's some great advice. And Emme, I just want to thank you for having the courage to be here. I know it's kind of nerve-wracking to sit here by yourself and answer these questions, but I think you've done phenomenal. And I think you are the voice of our students today. And I would just say there are probably many, many students who are going to be watching this to say, you know what, I want to be like Emme Delaney. And I know it's kind of humbling, but you are having influence on people that you probably don't even realize. And maybe you might have some people that want to go into engineering or do something because they've heard you say it first. So I want to thank you for being here.
Well, thank you for having me.
Yeah, I'm very proud of you. And when you graduate from college and you're ready to go to work, come back to Putnam County. Hopefully we'll find an engineering job for you here in Putnam County, okay?
Of course.
Thank you for being here. I appreciate it, okay?
Thank you.